Joey Brander back with you once again. Rafael Nadal, the defending champ, just hit the practice courts here on P1. Not typical for him to be out here the day after a late night match practicing, but of course the match yesterday shorter than anticipated. Only about a set and a half was played before his countryman and fellow Spaniard David Ferrer retired due to a calf injury. Ferrer announcing after the match that it would be his final Grand Slam appearance. He will officially retire from the tour next season. Rafael Nadal hitting the court with his coach and former Grand Slam champion, former world #1 Carlos Moya, former semifinalist here at the U.S. Open. Nadal was not originally scheduled to practice when the schedule was first released this morning, but I guess decided he wanted to come on out. Very warm day here in Flushing Meadows. Temperatures expected to reach over 100 degrees with the heat index. That's something to take into account for all the players playing in the day session today. One of them will be former champion Novak Djokovic. He'll lead the second match on court.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're ready to get into this side of the pavilion. Please stand at the back of the line right here. Thank you. Great. Awesome.
Ruff already opening up the court. Let us know in the comments, how do you think Rafael Nadal will fare in this year's U.S. Open? Will he be able to successfully defend his title? Elizabeth in the comments rooting for Rafa. Joe Lynn commenting hello from Southwest Louisiana. Thank you to everyone joining us from all around the world. Of course, we will be bringing you live coverage of player practices, behind the scenes coverage from the Open throughout the tournament. We'll have Roger Federer coming up in just a few hours at 4 p.m. Eastern, Maria Sharapova after that. That's a big forehand from Rafa there at the cross-court angle.
You just make sure people aren't standing on the chairs and not.
Rafa's one of his coaches telling him to keep racket head speed with the flick of the wrist coming across his body on the follow-through. Nadal obviously has a tendency to hit what's known as the buggy whip forehand. Like that right there, back up and above his left shoulder. Beautiful heavy ball from Rafa there. Rafa, 17-time Grand Slam champion, 3-time U.S. Open champion. The first two came with a defeat of Novak Djokovic in the final. Last year defeated the 6'8" South African Kevin Anderson in straight sets in the final, cruised to that final victory. Rafa, this year's French Open champion, a Wimbledon semi-finalist, losing 10-8 in the final in the 5th set to Novak. We saw him out here hitting with his coach Carlos Moya yesterday as well. Moya still hitting very well despite now being north of 40. Zuni in the comments rooting for Rafa from Paraguay. Monica in the comments rooting for Rafa as well, as is Pablo. Omar commenting from Madrid. Beautiful short angle forehand cross court there for Rafa. Rafa's coach now talking to him about making sure he keeps rotating his hips through the ball on the forehand side, bringing that back leg around. Beverly commenting from the Philippines, saying hi Rafa, love from her. Thank you for joining us. Nancy commenting, cheering for Rafa from Miami, thanks for joining us. Kathy commenting, stay hydrated. Staying hydrated definitely of importance today with the hot and humid conditions. We had an exciting day of play yesterday. Kevin Anderson was pushed to a fifth set, but ended up prevailing over the American Ryan Harrison. Juan Martín Del Potro had a straight set victory over American qualifier Donald Young. Stan Wawrinka had a big win in the first match on center court, Arthur Ashe Stadium, a straight set victory over the 8th seed Grigor Dimitrov. Serena Williams also with a straight set victory over Magda Linette. Taking around the grounds, the first match of the day in Arthur Ashe Stadium is now underway. Caroline Wozniacki up an early break over Sam Stosur. Richard Gasquet, the 26 seed, up 2-1 on court 5. Noah Rubin, the young American, down 2-0 against Kukushkin, court 7. And a battle of young Americans, Taylor Townsend and 16-year-old Anna Masova on court 11. They have split sets going into a third right now. Sarah commenting, rooting for Rafa from Columbia, South Carolina. Kurt commenting that he thinks Novak is back. Novak's certainly looking great in practice week thus far. We just saw him practice in Arthur Ashe Stadium. He'll be playing the second match on stadium court against the 26-year-old Hungarian Martin Fucsovic. Nadal backhand there has improved tremendously throughout his career. Of course, his forehand always among one of the greatest of all time. We see why right there with another angled heavy ball. The height and spin of Nadal forehand, tough to really recognize on television, but that ball's clearing the net by at least 10 feet, bouncing deep into the court, kicking up high over his opponent's shoulders with a lot of weight, pushing them back further into the court. Rafa will be back on court for his second round match against the Canadian Vasek Pospisil tomorrow. We've also seen that backhand slice from Rafa turn into a considerable weapon. He used that quite a bit both at Wimbledon and throughout the hard court season. His drop shot, very effective as of late, coming off the backhand side. Nadal was in full control against David Ferrer yesterday out the set and on serve in the second before Ferrer had to retire with that calf injury. The 36-year-old David Ferrer, former Grand Slam finalist. Nadal, beautiful footwork there, so comfortable moving around the ball from left to right. Using his footwork to earn himself more forehands. Carlos Moya showing off some wheels there, getting to that ball. Before Rafa puts it away. Kurt also saying that Rafa's looking as fit as he ever has, even in his 20s. Best of luck to him, but many surprises to come. That's definitely the case. We had our first big surprise of the tournament in the very first match on Louis Armstrong with the #1 woman in the world, Simona Halep, falling to Kaya Kanepi in the first round. The first time in U.S. Open history that the #1 seed has lost in the first round here in Flushing Meadows. That certainly came as a shock to tennis fans everywhere, but Nadal certainly looking as fit as ever, Kurt. I completely agree. His fitness has looked superb throughout the hardcourt season and throughout practice week thus far. He's played practice sets against Stan Wawrinka, Kevin Anderson over the past couple of days and has looked phenomenal each time. Someone asking whether this is preparing for Nadal's first match. His first match, of course, came last night. Second match on court in Arthur Ashe Stadium in the evening session, a victory over David Ferrer. He'll be playing against Vasek Pospisil tomorrow in his next match. Pospisil, a young Canadian, big server, former Grand Slam doubles champion. But Rafa will certainly be the overwhelming favorite in that one.
If you're waiting in line, please stay to the side. Thank you.
You know when Rafa's on court when you see large crowds of fans around the practice courts. We saw it yesterday, we see it again today. Fans lining up throughout the practice court hallways just to hope to make their way in and catch a glimpse of the former three-time U.S. Open champion, the current world #1, Rafael Nadal. Ramadani commenting, Djokovic is back. Novak certainly back after taking home the Wimbledon title a few weeks ago. Practice courts are filled with players prepping for matches throughout the day, an exciting day of matches for you. Maria Sharapova, Roger Federer, Nick Kyrgios, Marin Cilic, all will be playing today. Anna in the comments rooting for Rafa. Again, make sure you set your alarms at 4 o'clock this afternoon. We'll be bringing you Roger Federer's practice live. At 5, we'll be bringing you Maria Sharapova live. Make sure you stay tuned for that and join us again. Nadal's next round of opponent, as I mentioned, will be Vasek Pospisil, the 28-year-old Canadian from British Columbia. 6'4", right-hander, big server. Formerly a Wimbledon quarterfinalist in 2015. His best result is in the second round at the U.S. Open, but he was a 2014 Wimbledon doubles champion. He partnered up with American Jack Sock, who won yesterday here at the Open. Pospisil and Sock defeating the Bryan brothers in a hard-fought 5-set battle to win that 2014 Wimbledon doubles title. Practice courts are filled with players practicing, warming up for the later rounds today. Hearing from the crowd that we may get an Andy Murray sighting out here on the practice courts at some point today as well. Murray in his first match back at the Open after a very difficult year of injuries for him, got a win over the Australian Duckworth yesterday in 4 sets. And Murray emotional after the victory, hoping to return to championship form. Rafa heading back out on court now. Nadal now working on some pattern play with his coach Carlos Moya, going 1 ball to the backhand side there and then taking a big forehand down the line. This is a common pattern for Rafa, this 1-1 pattern, using that heavy forehand when playing against right-handers to put the ball as high over the shoulder as possible on the righty's backhand side, get them moving out wide, get them uncomfortable and on defense, unable to put as much behind the ball with it kicking up over their shoulder like that, and then Rafa stepping in to the court and being aggressive on the next ball, taking it up the line. We'll see this pattern throughout the Open for Rafa.
Hey, Rich.
Rafa hit some beautiful short angle forehands yesterday as well, pulling Ferrer far out wide on the backhand side. Nadal nodding his head, content with that pattern, the way he's hitting the ball. Nadal talking with one of his coaches again about just making sure he comes over the ball as much as possible on the forehand side and transfers his weight properly and doesn't pull up off of the ball. Now doing the same pattern from the backhand side now. Beautiful stinging backhand up the line there. Muhammad in the comments saying Rafael Nadal the king. Rachel in the comments saying Rafa looks strong and healthy. Faisal in the comments saying star-studded tennis event, always love it. That is definitely the case. There are few tournaments in the world like the U.S. Open, few sporting events like the U.S. Open. It was a star-studded affair both on and off the court. USTA Foundation Gala here at the Open yesterday that saw dozens of celebrities filling the grounds. Hugh Jackman was in the house, Gladys Knight, Maxwell. Kelly Clarkson, of course, performed to open up the evening session yesterday evening, did a medley of some of her greatest hits. Rafael Nadal was one of the youngest players in open air to reach the career Grand Slam. He did it at just the age of 24. Rafa hoping to win Grand Slam number 18 here in Flushing Meadows. Make sure you keep it locked in with us on U.S. Open social media. Joey Brander here throughout the tournament for you, bringing you live coverage of all the player practices. We'll be back in just a couple of hours with Roger Federer, Maria Sharapova as well, that coming at 4 and 5 Eastern respectively. So make sure you set your clocks and tune on in to watch the man they call the greatest of all time prepare for his first round match later this evening. Roger Federer coming up at 4 p.m. Make sure you join us and make sure you tune in for all the exciting matches during this second day of first round coverage of the U.S. Open. Joey Brander with you all week, and stay tuned.